Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sermon with Hyde Park United Methodist Church in Tampa, Florida. I'm Matt Hotho, the Director of Production and Online Engagement, and I'm joined by
Pastor Bernie Lieving. I am the Parish Associate here at Hyde Park, working primarily with Pastor Sally in congregational care.
Awesome. And Bernie, just to kind of ease into this for people who may not know you too well, how many total years have you kind of worked with Hyde Park?
The first time I was here was 19.
Okay.
And I left in 2013.
Right before I came.
Okay. And then I was out and I did some work at a couple other churches until 2024.
Okay.
After I had been away from one of the churches for a year, McGray called me and asked me to come back on staff part-time and do what I said I was doing. Yeah. So I've been 2 more years now.
Wonderful.
At Hyde Park.
Wonderful. Well, I remember when I came on staff, everybody was like, you've got to meet Bernie Lieving. And you just had a reputation that preceded you, and now getting to work with you has been a real treat.
You were saying about that, my wife Cindy often will look at me because we can go someplace in the store or a restaurant and some young lady will come up and throw her arms around me and say, Bernie, it's so good to see you. I'll look and I'll say, Cindy, I married them. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Of course. So let's talk about your message today. You were continuing our series on the life of Jacob.
Yes.
And this moment when he's running away, thinking he's going to be killed.
Yes.
And he falls asleep, rests his head on a rock, and has a vision.
Mm-hmm.
We think of it as Jacob's ladder, maybe, or the stairway to heaven.
Right.
Did I get all that right?
Well, yeah, that's what we do. But whether it was that or a stairway from heaven to us, which would make more sense that it's God's coming to us in God's presence, and we can see the angels ascending and descending, as I said Esther did, seeing them standing up there in that vision that she had.
Yeah, and I do like how the biblical text adds in there that angels were ascending and descending.
Yes.
Almost like the ancients even knew that there's something two-way about this path, right?
Yes.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But first, there was something else that Jacob experienced where he felt like God was in that place, right? And you called it a thin place. Let's talk about thin places for a little bit, because I think there's people watching this or listening who maybe have found themselves in something like a thin place and didn't have the language for it.
Yes, I think that happens. I can tell you that I've been talking over the last, for a long time with a couple of church members. But when I talked about this sermon, what I was going to be preaching about, I asked them if I can get it in, can I talk about the thin spaces that you have told me about in your life? And they said, yes, you can, but I ended up not putting it in because it would have taken too much.
Sure.
It would have been a 30-minute sermon instead of an 18-minute sermon. But it's when one of them was when she was talking with an individual that she knows and is kind of a spiritual advisor to her, and told her of all the things that she was dealing with in her life. And the person that she was talking to, who happened to be a nun, said to her, before I became a nun, I worked for the company you're talking about, and I worked in the issues that you're dealing with. Wow. Anytime you have the issue that you need to talk further about, I'm here.
Yeah. So one of those moments where this person was going through something and God kind of, or someone appears in their life that understands this.
Yes.
In a really distinct way.
And can respond to it.
Yeah.
And say, I can be of help.
Yeah.
The other person was a different kind of situation, a work situation, having some significant issues, and was really having a hard time. And one day she gets a 1-sentence email from someone in the office that basically says, I'm so glad that you are here.
Yeah.
Who you are to me means so much. Thank you for being who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one of those thin spaces that come.
I like that you brought up both of those because they actually involve real human interactions.
Yes.
Instead of saying, well, I took a trip out to the Rocky Mountains and I, saw, of
Yes.
course that's a thin space, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Yes. But that beauty of when we are present with another person and we trust that instinct that's placed on us to say something or to write a note, right? Or to be present with someone when they're going through something, even just to hold that silence for a minute.
Yes.
And for them, in that moment, God is able to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I really appreciate that.
And the thin places, as I said, come back from the early Celtic Christian days when they talked about those thin places. And then we've come more and more to talk about thin spaces.
Yeah.
But they're both the same.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It's where we are, who we are, and the kind of things that I just talked to you about happen in our lives.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Well, there was another part of your sermon that you talked about, and we were talking about it right at the very beginning of this, about how that pathway, that ladder, that stairway is bidirectional.
Yes.
It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street, yes.
I think there's some of us who think, and maybe we're taught, that the idea of trying to reach God is futile. But yet it's the only way to do it. That God is sort of wholly other than us and would never come to us. That all we're able to do is, as the best that we're able, try and reach up to God.
Yes.
But this story says something different.
Oh, yes. God comes to us.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to God. And God ultimately came to us in Jesus, who came and lived the life that he did, died the death he did, was resurrected and ascended back to God.
Yeah.
And he's the one, through God's Spirit now, that is here for us, dwells within us, and makes happen sometimes those things that we call the thin spaces.
Yeah, right. So I think for some people there's this idea that you can't get to God, and yet God can't come to us, and so that you're stuck. You're stuck with this God that is just far away. And what does God mean to me, right? The New Age atheists, right, who would say that like God is just this person who's absent, far away,
right,
distant, right? And the story, and just like you were saying, says something different.
Yes,
and even if we stay in the Old Testament and don't jump to Jesus just yet, even if you read the Old Testament, you have a God that is like interested in interacting with the people in their real everyday lives.
Of course, the stories of what God did from even before the story of Jacob, all the way back to Abraham, that God called to leave this land and go to this land. And then when the Israelites were in Egypt, and God came to them and said, I'm going to make a difference in your lives.
Yeah, and I'll be a fire that guides you at night, right? And a pillar of smoke during the day.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will be with you. And if you read most of the stories that written by the prophets, most of them talk about how that first connection with God came. And it's God saying, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
And it's like, well, even Moses, a burning bush.
Right.
And it wasn't being burned up. But, well, you're supposed to go back, you're to go to Egypt, and this is what you're to do, or you're to go to the people, and this is what you're to do. Well, who am I to tell them that said to do this? I am. And then all the way through the New Testament, Jesus saying, I am this, I am this, I am this.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So if someone's listening to this and they want to experience God, maybe a little bit more closely, what would be one or two practical things that they could do?
I think the first thing that they could do is just recognize or be willing to at least think that God is already here.
Okay.
And to be in a quiet place where they can just be quiet. Now, that's very hard for me to do.
Internally. Like your brain is always going. Yeah.
Yes. And if I'm not, sometimes if I am able to do that, the next thing I know. Right. But you've got to be willing to be quiet. To let God speak in some way, however God chooses. And being quiet so we can hear. So often I think God speaks to us and we are so busy. We are so much involved with whatever is going on with us in our lives that we just don't hear God. And I would look for us just to be quiet and hear.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
God's here. He's right here.
Yeah, we just have to have the eyes to see and the awareness.
Yes. And to be willing to accept sometimes things that we see as a coincidence is really what I call a God incidence. That God has somehow worked something in our lives and whatever it is that's going on, that we just think, well, that's just one of those things that happen. Well, no. There are God incidences in which God comes and something happens in our lives that probably would not have happened otherwise.
I think that's a great place to wrap up for today.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Sermon. If you want to experience silence, if you want to experience some quiet in your life, and you're here in the Tampa Bay area, our Portico campus does midday meditations on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and their Sunday morning experience at 10:01 also has a silence component to it that might help you kind of begin to cultivate a practice of silence, of listening for God's voice. And if you want to find out more about our church, you can go to hydeparkumc.org/next steps, where you can join us for worship and find out more about our community. Bernie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a privilege for me to be able to do this.
Awesome. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.